Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Today that watch is a Spinnaker. Spinnaker, definitely one of the most prolific watch brands in the market at the moment. I'm not sure who's released more new models over the course of 2019, them or Omega. Certainly too big to be considered a micro brand though. They're part of the Dartmouth brand's umbrella that includes James McCabe, AV8, Dufa and a number of others. I've had a look at a couple of their other brands, but really Spinnakers are the ones that I have enjoyed. Good value, retro styled dive watches. Now, this watch was sent to me for free by Spinnaker. I don't have to return it. In addition, I am a Spinnaker affiliate. What that means is you'll find a discount code in the description of the video, taking 20% off of the price of this Duma or pretty much anything else you like from the Spinnaker website. If you buy a watch using my code, they pay me a small commission. Thanks very much. Now, they have done a number of updated models over the course of the year as well. I looked at their Bradner Super Compressor a few months ago on a new custom bracelet, very nice indeed. Similarly, the Duma, what they've done is they've updated it with new colorways and they have added a big chunky mesh bracelet that suits the watch visually, but does it work on the wrist? Let's flip the camera and find out. So, a serious watch with a seriously 1970s vibe about it and a seriously big and chunky 4mm thick mesh bracelet. I'm not going to spend forever on this one, having reviewed essentially the same watch about 8 months ago. I'll leave a pop-up card just about there if you want to take a look at my original review. This one is $400 before any discounts. That comes down to $320 when you apply the code. I reckon $320 is pretty much spot on for the specs. I'll tell you what though, Spinnaker are going to have to get a bit more serious about their packaging if they're going to keep pushing north of $300. A very rudimentary cardboard box here, 300 plus. I would be expecting one of those travel pouches you get with Borealis, Stratton, Phoebus and the like. I think much more in keeping with that level of watch once you hit 300 plus. So 43mm in diameter, 15mm thick, 47.5 lug tip to lug tip. Now, hidden lugs today, recessed into the case, no curvature at all to this case, so it wears quite unusually, this Spinnaker Duma. 22mm lug width, zero taper on this big, chunky, thick bracelet. Really, most of this review is going to be concentrating on the bracelet because it is the new and improved, allegedly, feature of this watch and the reason why they're doing a re-edition of the Duma. Now, no sizing possible with this one. You can't cut links out of it. You can't reduce the size of this mesh at all. Therefore, as supplied, this one weighs in at a not inconsiderable 206 grams. I said that the old Duma on the rubber strap was a little bit top heavy. This one is not. It certainly carries its weight overall much better because of that big, chunky, very nicely engineered bracelet, but not without its flaws. I'll talk about them later. 316L stainless steel case, crown, bezel and full mesh bracelet with proper milled clasp, as I'll show you. We've got a piece of flat sapphire crystal covering the dial there, 120 click unidirectional rotating dive time bezel, no backplay, no bounce. My OCD will tick it on one more click there. Now the bezel insert is made of mineral crystal, so we have a piece of sapphire on the dial, but this is a piece of mineral crystal insert on the bezel. The lume on this watch is great. I'll show you the lume video very early today. Like I said, it's a serious attempt at a dive watch from Spinnaker. C3 Superluminova, heaps and heaps of C3 on those hands, the applied indices, and in that mineral crystal bezel. The bezel is the first thing to go though. The hands though lasting very, very well indeed. So if you are going to take this one diving, the lume should last as long as your oxygen does. The finishing on the octagonal case is very nice indeed. Quite a fine vertical brush on the side. A little bit of high polish on those tops of the case there, transitioning into more brushing on the hidden lugs. Again, semi-guarded crown. Could do with a bit more grip on this one, to be honest. Could do with a bit more knurling or something. But there is a nice little Spinnaker logo there in a little piece of embossed plastic on the end. Quick look at the dial, and this is definitely one of Spinnaker's better attempts. A nice cohesive design overall. I do love those plunger hands. They always remind me of those fiddler crabs though, the ones with one big claw and one small claw. But some nice touches here. Applied indices, we've got a kind of recessed inner ring, rehaut dial just raised slightly above, nice date frame around a vaguely colour matched date window, and an attractive handset with a lateral brush. Applied Spinnaker logo and just printed text automatic 1000 feet 300 meters. Not quite sure why they felt the need to put the numbers 13 to 24 just inside of those hour markers there. Probably could have done without that, it would have been a cleaner look overall. But the orange, the lemon yellow tones of the bezel and the muted navy blue of the dial, I think a nice colour combo overall. There's a conservative black option and there's a couple of more radical 70s colours for you to choose from if you're interested. The movement, no surprises, is an NH35 by Seiko. Custom Spinnaker logo on there, 300 meters water resistant, screw down crown, screw down case back, all the usual adverts around the edge of that display window. 24 jewel hacking and hand winding auto, stated tolerances of -20 to +30. Let's pop this one in the time grapher and see how it gets on. Yeah, no complaints about this one then. +4 seconds per day, healthy amplitude, minimal beat error. There we are, the correct lift angle of 53 degrees, and as you can see there, 21,600 vibrations per hour. So you get 6 ticks of the second hand per second. This one should run and run merrily in the back of the Duma for years, and the movements themselves are so cheap, frankly, you're probably best just putting it in the bin and getting a new one popped in the back of the watch when it comes time for a service. Okay then, the mesh bracelet. Now there is good and there is bad about this mesh bracelet. Let's talk about the good. The good is, it is the most fabulously well engineered mesh bracelet that I have encountered to date. 4mm thick, super chunky, nicely machined, no rough bits anywhere on here. Nice deep etched Spinnaker logo on the fold over. We have got a proper milled clasp. There's a chunky kind of centimetre tall retainer. Nice metal clip around the ends so it doesn't fray or damage with time. Super chunky, well engineered bracelet overall. I mean, that's it next to an El Cheapo that I picked up on eBay for about $25, and you can see the difference in quality. It is obvious. And on wrist, it's really comfy. If you've never run a mesh bracelet long term, they are super comfy. This one is infinitely adjustable, so you can get it to just the right fit, and it also means that you can adjust it over the course of a day, or if you're wearing a wetsuit, if you are actually taking this watch diving, it'll go over the wetsuit, no problem at all. I reckon maybe up to an 8.5 inch wrist with the sheer amount of metal that is there. It also helps balance out what would be quite a heavy, top heavy, slightly bobbly watch. 205 grams, 206 grams, as I said, overall, but nicely balanced thanks to the sheer volume of metal that sits underneath the head of the watch. The bad news is perhaps there's just a little bit too much metal sitting underneath the head of the watch and underneath your wrist. 2 times 4mm, you know, add a little bit of gap in there and you're looking at a centimetre mostly of metal underneath your wrist. It is a seriously chunky clasp and a seriously chunky retainer that sits at over 1 centimetre high. But the big problem for me with this one is the retainer doesn't do its job. It doesn't actually retain the clasp. Unless you've got it done up super tight, this inevitably slides down the mesh and you end up with this little metal tail wagging away underneath your wrist. And that, my friends, is not a good thing. Once again, let me bring in El Cheapo for a comparison. This is the problem here. It slides all the way down and you end up with this long strip dangling in the breeze. Whereas, at least with the Cheapo, the way that the bracelet is designed, the excess metal sits underneath that top layer, meaning it sits nice and secure. I guess you could kind of MacGyver it yourself. You could take this one off and you could put a rubber or a resin retainer on there, which would do a much better job of actually keeping the mesh in place, but it would kind of shatter the look. And it's a bit of a shame given the quality of the overall mesh bracelet that they just haven't quite got the design right with this one. So sorry Spinnaker, it's a serious watch that gets seriously close, but seriously, you should redesign that mesh bracelet. So there you have it, the Spinnaker Duma, now with a big chunky mesh bracelet. and unfortunately I prefer the older one on the rubber strap. The mesh just hasn't quite worked for me. I'm afraid it either needs a second metal retainer or a rubber retainer, or perhaps I just need to eat a lot of pies and add at least an inch to my wrist size. So if you are interested in picking up one of these, don't forget the 20% discount code in the description of the video. May I recommend the one on the rubber strap. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.